Now, going over to the cultural part podcast, you have Matt Walsh reacting to the federal government plan to turn wilderness into housing developments. That was brought to us, obviously, thanks to Matt Walsh on X, in which he's actually, oh, I'll go ahead and play his clip without too much further ado. He says it a lot better than myself.
Better than environmentalists and conservationists. I'm a conservationist too. I believe in conservation of the natural world, absolutely. And as a naturalist, as a conservationist, I really hate the idea of selling off millions of acres of pristine wilderness. I really hate it, and I'm opposed to it. Preserving nature, preserving our land, preserving land to hunt and fish and just to exist, just to have it, even if you're not using it for anything, that really matters, and it's not a small thing. And the idea of leveling so much of that land to build housing is grotesque to me. I really hate the idea. And I'm not convinced that it's necessary at all. I mean, if it was actually necessary, if we really needed to, if we actually needed to, then yes, I would say begrudgingly that, well, you have to. I mean, homes for people must take precedence over nature. People are more important than trees. Although the trees, it's a little bit of a false dichotomy, because the trees and nature and wilderness, they bring joy to people. It's beauty. It's one of the things that makes life worth living. And so it's because human beings have such great value that also nature and trees and wilderness has value. But
I'm going to say, Matt Walsh is married because he has a candle in the background. No guy has ever bought a candle for themselves. I'm trying to remember. I bought like 3 candles in my life. And obviously, they're for the ladies in my life. I gave it to them. But yeah, that's another sure sign someone is married. They have candles. That is one of the biggest, most silliest luxuries people buy these days. And Lord only knows the profit margins on them. But my ADHD aside, I saw that in the background man's video there. Now, he reacted to a statement saying, quote, "Teddy Roosevelt is one of my personal heroes and one of the greatest Americans to ever live. I'm quite sure he would strongly disapprove of turning our pristine wilderness into housing developments, as so do I," unquote. Which, yeah, I would tend to agree with. Now, this got about 500,000 views as well as 12,000 likes. We'll also review one of his later statements. One of the first ones in the comment section come to us thanks to Emperor, said, quote, "Archbishop Fulton Sheen is one of my favorite heroes and one of the greatest Americans to ever live." Got 123 likes. Matt Walsh said, I absolutely agree, getting 62 likes. Kind of a little bit of an outlier. Or not outlier, just ADHD comment. Now, you also have Jeremy Clark says, "Would love to have you come on the Meat Eater TV and talk about this." Matt said, "Love to," getting 53 likes. Let's see here. Zach Kaizen, I don't think he practices the art at Toyota, perhaps they named it after him. I'm only partially kidding. A little business joke there, or engineering and optimization joke. Now, he says, "You will have to pay close attention to these numbers, Matt." And it says, Nevada, 80.1%, Utah, 63.1%, Idaho, 61.9%, Alaska, 60.9%, Oregon, 52.3%, Wyoming, 46.7%, California, 45%, Arizona, 42%, Colorado, 36%, New Mexico, 37%, Montana, 30%, Washington, 29%. That is a percentage of each of these western states that's owned by the federal government. Ask yourself if you trust the federal government in D.C. to manage the land better than the people who actually live there. Getting 39 likes, which, oh, that's who I was going to say, is California, is leadership in California fit to manage anything? They can't even, they're the most mismanaged, backwards-ass state in the whole union. I mean, literally on fire, or fuego, as they say there, with the riots left and right, businesses leaving in droves, people leaving. I would not use California as an example of the rights argument of state versus federal government. So I'm getting what he's trying to say. Now, he also had 16 people respond. Was he ratioed? Let's see, Mr. Sasquatch. Well, he would especially be irate with less and less government land if more housing were to develop. Where would he live? Now, this alleged Mr. Sasquatch says, quote, "Most federal lands are held for mining, ranching, and forestry. The states are proven that they can't be trusted on these matters," getting 10 likes. Now, Zach responded saying, quote, "I don't trust any level of government as far as I can throw it, but I would far prefer the government I have to fight with to be the one closer to it. When you contrast the percentage of the eastern states, it's eye-opening," getting 1 like. Going back to the main comment section here, you have Rudolfo Gasparari saying, quote, "How much pristine wilderness do you need? Seems like one of those luxury beliefs." And there's a map. Let's see, is there a legend? There is. So, yeah, if you look at the percentage of federal land owned in states, and yeah, the Western United States is comically owned by the federal government in comparison to any other part. I mean, central U.S., so Eastern United States, and yeah, most of Alaska, and pretty much all of Nevada is all owned by the feds. I forgot how many of those square miles they need for military testing of all those fun nukes, though. That's certainly not a disproportionate amount of that percentage. But yeah, that is a very large. It looks like nothing. Maybe there's one little square foot of land in Iowa owned by the federal government. I think is Iowa the most owned by the state? I think it is. It might be like one park in Iowa. Now that map got 31 likes. We also have Julie Beiling says, quote, I live in Utah where 2/3 of the land is federally owned. Would you like to live in a state where only 1/3 of the land is permissible for any development? Gain 20 likes. Well, that's also, I'm not sure how much I really hold up that argument or believe that argument, because although I don't believe in this, the federal government does have the right for eminent domain, which I find perverse and disgusting. It is akin to what the law says. If the government wants to build a highway through your land, they could force you to leave and pay what they want, basically. So they can steal your land already, even without them already owning the land. So I'm not sure how much of her argument is really valid. You have, scrolling down here. Siberian Orchestra says, quote, don't believe the people posting beautiful mountain view vistas as proof that all federal land looks like that. Housing prices in Utah are so expensive that many people who grew up there will never be able to own a home there because the majority is government owned, getting 16 likes. Now, going to another Matt Walsh post about the same topic, he clarified and elaborated, saying, quote, we don't need to sell federal land and turn our wilderness into housing developments. If we need more housing, let's round up all the illegals who don't belong in our country and evict them. That'll free up millions of housing units in one fell swoop. Leave the federal land alone. America's natural beauty must be protected. Now, this got 1 million views and 45,000 likes, which, when he says millions, he isn't exaggerating. Because again, estimates that there's between 16 and 20 million illegals in the United States. Now, granted, many of those numbers are, families. So there's more than, not 1-to-1 ratio in terms of one illegal is taking one house or one apartment unit. But again, even if you average out, let's say 4 members per family or 5, I mean, that's still 5+ million? That's a lot of housing demand and apartment demand as well. So I think Matt actually does bring up a good point. And I think that is a variable, again, not the single variable of why housing is so expensive in the United States right now, but that is a big contributing factor, both for apartments and housing. Now, you have Base Electrician saying, quote, I always thought it would be the climate change cult that would eventually destroy America's beautiful land, getting 10 likes and having the pictures of those stupid windmills, which, yeah, those windmills, not only do they take a lot of natural resources and it ironically takes a lot of oil and concrete and a lot of things to actually produce those windmills, although they're called wind turbines, technically speaking, but people call them windmills. But it's an instance where if you look at the ROI, it's about 20 years for those stupid things to break even, which is why green energy isn't green, fiscally speaking. That's why no business ever does it. Again, 20 years to break even on investment. No one with a modicum of intelligence would ever do that. Only governments. That got 10 likes. You also have 57 Harrier strikes saying, quote, every argument in favor of this land sale requires you to forget the context that we live in a country where 1/4 of the population shouldn't even be here. Gave 1.9 thousand likes, which I don't know if it's 1/4, but it's getting there. Logan Hall says, quote, easy solution to almost every problem we face is just deport 100 million people. Gave 1.3 thousand likes. It depends who you're deporting. I mean, if you just did 100 million random people, it wouldn't solve the crime or wouldn't solve other issues. Now, yeah, Bleezy saying, quote, you can make the first statement without saying the rest. Why do you choose not to be a good person? Getting 66 likes and a contrarian statement, getting 116 responses, which is one of the most responded comments. Now, going to Bleezy, one of the first comments responding to him is from Greg saying, quote, Bleezy is just a good person. Everyone clap. Getting 33 likes for, virtue signaling. Through Patriot says, quote, not wanting illegals in our country doesn't make us a bad person. Getting 99 likes. So he did, in fact, statistically speaking, ratio Bleezy. You also have Regardio's Firelord saying, quote, why do you choose to be an idiot? Getting 60 likes. This Volt says, quote, why do you think you're a good person in this equation? Getting 26 likes. Which, just because you don't want people breaking the law, I mean, if anything, I would argue that makes you the moral person to want moral things to happen, like, people following the law. Muscular Sax says, quote, let's kick out the last 3 generations of illegals. They don't belong. Getting 415 likes, which, I don't know. In terms of the Supreme Court, I know Trump wants to challenge birthright citizenship. which again, that is a perverse incentive in terms of people who come here, pejoratively known as anchor babies, who have babies here and then justifies that for a reason why their kids should be legal and they should be legal. But again, with the current state of the Supreme Court, I don't think they would. I'm very dubious. I don't think they'll change that in the next couple of years. We'll see. Chris Martinez also says, quote, deporting all illegal aliens would actually solve a lot of other issues too, getting 608 likes. That's true. Tommy Loren says, agreed, getting 554 likes. It looks like a Grand Theft Auto clip. It looks like the same graphics from Grand Theft Auto, but there's no citing for the statistics. This is posted by I Love American News, and they say, quote, deporting all of them would open up a lot of housing. And this is a map of the U.S. It says amount of people eligible to be mass deported, and they claim 5,000 illegals in Alaska, which, I mean, talk about a determined illegal. If you're in Alaska, the coldest hellhole on the planet, although I'm sure it's beautiful. I'd love to go camping there for a day or two, but geez Louise, you gotta be tough as nails to be there. There's we'll cover the top ones. 2 million, apparently, again, they're not citing any statistics or anything in this map, but this map claims 2 million people in California, 1.7 million in Texas, 900,000 in Florida, 400,000 in Illinois, 600,000 in New York. Jeez Louise. I think Alaska is the smallest one. Yeah. Trying to see other surprising ones. No, nothing else really stands out too much. I got 154 likes. Muscular Sack also says, my rent would be laid cheaper if Miguel and his wife stopped spawning children like rabbits, getting 155 likes. Gordon Porter says, all of them, not just convenient ones, getting 59 likes. Clyde Davis says, quote, what are they proposing? Or sorry, what they are proposing is no different than in illegal encampments that have been popping up across Ireland. Who's funding this? Unquote. Getting 160 likes. But yeah, we'll do one, two more. Seleniath says, quote, Patriot, Mike Lee is a traitor to America and should be tried, getting 929 likes. But yeah, it is. I mean, look at those maps. It is interesting to see how much federal land, or how much of the land in the Western United States is owned by the federal government. I didn't realize the ratio or the percentage is so high. And it'd be a shame to lose some of our national, our parks and beauty to people who, shouldn't be here. It'll be interesting to see, how this goes forth, how much is actually, sold off and privatized and turned into housing. But yeah, it is kind of sad to see, less and less beautiful forests. But again, there are also more trees being planted than ever before. It's just in different areas. It'll be interesting to see that at the end of the day how much is sold off and who buys it. Hopefully not, hopefully it's not just BlackRock getting all of it. But let me know that in your comments, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Thank you everyone for taking time to tune in today. Again, trying to get to 6,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so click that button. I greatly appreciate it. Also, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, and a comment. It's a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how I can make the show better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, anyone, everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.